Hello, bright blessings to all, and thank you for checking out our first Hearthfire Academy lesson. This idea has been years in the making and has gone through many transformations. I'm sure this is only the beginning, and I'm pleased to share with you today one of my favorite evergreen trees, the pine tree. If you are listening in on your favorite podcast platform or watching the presentation on YouTube, I hope this information is valuable to you and supportive of your foraging journey. All of the plants I'm going to share in this series are commonly found, so you can start your own backyard herbal adventure. All right, let's go. Pine, known scientifically as Pinus, belongs to the family Pinaceae. This majestic tree can be found in various habitats, ranging from forests and mountains to coastal areas. With its tall structure and characteristic needle-like leaves, the pine tree is a familiar sight in many parts of the world. Pine trees are commonly referred to simply as pine. However, specific species may have additional names associated with them, such as eastern white pine, Scots pine, or ponderosa pine. The pine that I am working specifically with this month is the Virginia pine because that's what we have in our backyard. Parts used of this plant: the timber has been used for construction, furniture making, paper production. Pine resin, also known as pitch, has been used for its medicinal and adhesive properties. Various parts of the pine tree has practical uses. Pine needles and cones can be used in crafts, potpourri, or even as natural fire starters. A tea can be made out of the needles as well. Alright, so let's talk about some associations with the pine. I find that these associations are at least important to have an understanding of because it's how our ancestors passed down knowledge and information. Knowing how they used the pine or even viewed it gives us a better insight into what they were using the pine for medicine and how we can use it in our own modern lives. So if we're looking at astrology, pine is associated with the planet Mars. The energy of Mars is believed to be reflected in the strength and resilience of the pine tree. It symbolizes courage, vitality, and protection. In Greek mythology, the pine tree is associated with the god Dionysus, the god of wine and ecstasy. The pine cone, a symbol of pine trees, is often depicted in the hands of Dionysus and his followers, representing fertility and divine connection. For looking at festival associations with the pine tree, it holds significant importance in many cultural festivals around the world. For example, in some countries, decorating pine trees is a central part of Christmas celebrations. Additionally, Japanese celebrate the New Year with a festival called Toji, while they take purifying baths with pine branches to ward off evil spirits. The energetics and taste profile of this herb is a buttery texture. And a delicate, slightly sweet flavor that pairs well with a wide range of dishes. They have a unique earthy flavor. One of my favorite teas, which I also have stock in my store, is called Frere's Light, and it is a pine-based tea with orange and cinnamon. Ooh, excuse me guys, we have some illness going on in our house right now, so I'm doing a lot of herbal remedies. I made the mistake of coughing while I was recording this, and my amazing husband brought in some more herbal medicine. And guys, listen, herbal medicine does not taste good. Like, it's not good. Just, I know we want to talk about like how nice it is to be able to go into your backyard and get herbal medicine. Yeah, that's great. Like 10 out of 10 recommend. But it tastes like booty. Okay? It's not good. Every once in a while, like my oxymels or simple syrups or whatever, like those are really good. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, especially with like upper respiratory stuff going on, It's not great. But I will say my pine tea that I've been using has been very tasty and actually gets the other medicines out of my mouth because it's gross. Alright, so let's move on. So for spiritual and magical uses, the pine tree is associated with purification and cleansing. Burning pine resin or using pine essential oil in aromatherapy is believed to clear negative energy and promote mental clarity. Pine is also thought to enhance spiritual connection and intuition. In magical traditions, pine is often associated with prosperity, protection, and fertility. Pine branches or cones can be used in rituals or placed in the home to attract abundance and ward off negative energies. Pine incense is commonly used during meditation and spells related to growth and transformation. Alright, so now we've got some of that folk medicine out of the way, some of those associations with pine. Let's really dig into the medicinal. So pine contains a constituent called alpha-pinene. And alpha-pinene is a monoterpene found mainly in eucalyptus oils and oils of aromatic plants such as rosemary, or in this case pine. It is known to possess antimicrobial, apoptotic, anti-metastatic, and antibiotic properties. It's one of those promising agents for the treatment of various inflammatory diseases, and this is all according to ScienceDirect.com. Outside of all of that, pine has long been used for its, not outside, it's all connected, but along with that, pine has long been valued for its medicinal properties. Pine needle tea, made by steeping pine needles in hot water, is believed to have immune-boosting and anti-inflammatory effects. It's also rich in vitamin C and antioxidants. Pine resin has traditionally been used topically to soothe wounds and skin irritations. Some of the folklore surrounding the pine tree. Pine trees have deep-rooted symbolism in folklore and mythology. In Native American folklore, the pine tree was considered a symbol of wisdom and longevity. In Northern European countries, pine trees or firs were decorated to celebrate the birth of Frey, the Norse god of the sun and fertility. At the end of the year, the tops of the trees were lit because in winter the days were getting shorter. Northern people thought that by doing so, with light, like the loop, it would attract the sun again. And I think that's really nice. I actually do keep a couple of trees, or at least some of my winter wreaths, up all through the season, just to remind myself that it's okay. Like, the sun's gonna come back. Everything's gonna be great again. Some foraging tips for you on foraging for pine. It's good practice to have permission to harvest anything, and this is between the person who owns the land or the property. Like, make sure you get permission. That's all part of ethical foraging. But then also make sure that the plant make sure that the plant has given you permission as well. And you'll know this if you sit quietly with a plant and really sort of reach out with your energetic body. You can get an idea of whether or not that plant is ready to be harvested or even wants to be part of whatever recipe that you're using the plant for. And one way I like to do that is, again, just sit with the plant, but also kind of look around it. Is the plant healthy? Does it look good? Does it have, in this case, are the pine needles brown or are they green? What does the tree, like, is it sparse? Is it, how healthy does this tree look? I want something that's going to be the picture of health and vitality, because I'm using these pine needles in a tea to promote health and vitality. I also want to remind you all to choose plants away from high traffic or other areas that might be susceptible to being chemically sprayed. You just don't want that in your body. Like, it's just it's much better to go somewhere where you know it's not been sprayed, so you don't have to worry about those sorts of things. Also, never harvest from only one plant. Try to harvest from branches or trees already felled. So you never want to harvest from just one plant. You want to make sure that you are leaving enough of the plant to make a, bounce back. You shouldn't, my rule of thumb is it shouldn't look like I was there to begin with. So I'm harvesting minimally from each plant, making sure that there's plenty of that plant left over to continue being healthy and thrive, as well as provide much needed nutrients and support within its local environment. I also try to harvest branches from trees that are already felled. So I'm not one to really cut down a lot of trees for just to be all willy-nilly with it. We will have to be cutting some trees down here shortly when we are working on cleaning up the barnyard area so we can get a skid steer, and all of those trees, once I fell them, they're going to be used for some kind of herbal thing. We've got some walnut trees out there, or it's going to be used for my garden and being able to build structures out in the garden to support our growth. So it's just good rule of thumb. Don't cut down trees unless you really, really have to. And if you do, try to make sure that you use every part. All right, so I'm going to leave you with this pine needle syrup recipe. I enjoy using pine needle syrup for honestly, I'll use it for like in drinks, like in mixed drinks or something, or I'll make like a mocktail. This essentially is a simple syrup with the fresh pine needles, so you're getting that holistic value as well as the flavor. So you need 2 cups of fresh pine needles, 2 cups of water, 2 cups of sugar, and 1 juiced lemon. Wash the pine needles thoroughly, remove any of the brown or damaged parts, and in a saucepan, bring the water to boil. Then add the pine needles. You're going to make a tea out of the pine needles and let the mixture simmer for about 30 minutes. Strain the liquid to remove the pine needles. Return the liquid to the saucepan, then add your sugar and lemon juice. Stir the mixture over low heat until the sugar has dissolved completely. Allow the syrup to cool before transferring into a sterilized bottle. You can store the syrup in a refrigerator or use it as a sweetener or a flavoring in drinks and desserts. The mighty pine is not only a familiar sight in nature, but also holds significant cultural value. From their practical uses in construction and crafts to their medicinal and magical properties, pine continues to fascinate and inspire us. Let us appreciate the beauty and wonder of these evergreen giants that have stood the test of time. Now go out there and forage responsibly for some pine needles. Make some pine needle tea. If you don't have any pines in your area that you feel safe cultivating or harvesting from, just because you do live in more of an urban area, totally fine. I have pine needles listed. They will be listed in my shop shortly, and I have a pine needle tea already whipped up called Frere's Light that I really like. It's a pine needle based tea with some oranges, and then a cinnamon stick. It just really, really it's like winter in a cup. It's really good. You can find all sorts of content and free resources on any of my platforms, and if you would like to reach out, please email me at caitlinhallrooted@gmail.com. Please leave any kind of comments or messages, any kind of questions that you have. Please reach out. I am always here and available to chat. This is basically my obsession. So have a great day or the rest of your time, and bright blessings. Thanks again.